I think when we first watched the documentary, that was that sort of turned us on to the idea in the first place. We just couldn't believe it. Like, we couldn't believe it was something that existed in the world. It felt like such a crazy combination of all these different things that shouldn't go together but did go together. And it just felt like a world that Carly and I wanted to sort of play in, ideally for a long time if we get the chance. So it was just something that, when you get an idea and it just sort of lights your brain on fire and you can't stop thinking about it, it's a good indicator that you should keep chasing that idea.
Yeah, true. Because there's I felt when I watched the episode that there's sort of a period piece in this. Is that a chance for a better chance to do more drama, comedy stuff than if it had been now?
Well, I just think it's a chance to do different things. I mean, I think we were definitely interested in the idea of looking back at 1985. And I mean, it's fundamentally, we wanted to tell the story of this moment in time. And it was different for women in the 80s. Yeah. Wrestling was different in the 80s. It was far more comedic. It was far, I think it was... the characters were way more colorful and iconic, I think. Yeah. And we were interested in that sort of cultural moment and Glow being a part of that landscape. Yeah. So, and I just think aesthetically, it was a real challenge and a delight to go back to, this time period. And, like the cars are so great and the clothes are so disgusting and the hair is so bananas and, trying to figure out what our version of that is very real, but period. I mean, production-wise, it was completely insane to try to do. It was so many people. It was imagine. Period. It was wrestling. So we definitely bit off potentially more than we could chew, but we did it, so.
But still, there's parallels to modern society.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, I'm born 1982, and I was almost shocked by,
the resonance,
how much is still, going on in regards to women's rights.
No, it's really terrifying. I mean, it's like one of those things where we were watching this horrible conservative woman, Phyllis Schlafly, give a speech to all these conservatives, and it was just one of those things where I'm like, this could be on Fox right now. Yeah. Like it's all right there. So I think that part of it is, I think it became obviously more resonant with this deep swing back to conservatism in the U.S. But when we pitched the show, it was, I think our opening salvo was, this is a great time for women. We're about to elect our first female president. And now, it's just turned on its head and the things that we thought would be resonant one way are resonant a different way. So,
So you weren't looking for those...
We weren't looking for it. We sort of stumbled, it's like everyone else. We were making a show that was set in the 80s and our world changed. And so how you feel some of the moments in the show changed, which is just how it goes when you're making something.
Sure.
Creatively.
If it gets renewed, will that be something that you will look for more in the new episodes?
It's interesting. We talk about that a little bit. I think sometimes when you poke something too hard or point at something too hard, it actually takes your audience out of the period a bit. When, I don't think we ever want to wink or comment. No. I think we want to sort of stay in 85 with our characters, and I think the resonance will be what it is. Yeah. As long as we're telling our story properly, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. We were doing one of our big wrestling storylines is America versus Russia, because in 85 all the best villains in the movies were Russian.
Sure.
And then we didn't realize we would just be talking about Russia all the time in the U.S. now. So I mean, just that in and of itself is a lot to handle at this stage.
There's also I think that you get to that place via the comedy.
Absolutely.
Was that something you were looking for all the time?
I think so, and I think the seduction of having a wrestling ring, which is this heightened theatrical space, it feels it feels so different doing scenes with these characters and putting sort of, you know, the boogeymen of the 80s in, or the stereotypes that people are confronted with in the 80s in the wrestling ring. You can tell some of those stories that way. And it can be comedic, and it can be weird, and it can be really over the top, and because also the taste line in wrestling is in a very different place than, you know, in everyday life. So you can get away with some different things and put some different things in that ring.
Absolutely true. Was there something that, when watching the show now, that surprised you, that you haven't thought about when writing the script and, you know, being on set?
I mean, I think the thing that was always so staggering about the show was just watching the women really wrestle and really take hold of their, you know, their physicality and be so fierce and so amazing, and just how much you feel when you see them grow as wrestlers throughout the show. I think it's just really exhilarating and exciting to see them, to see that journey.